of this court case is going to be. Definitely a setup. And like I said, the way that Levitard did it, Levitard is, going after the sports people as well. And then A. Stephen Smith, again, ASS, goes after Levitard because they have that connection where they don't really get along since their days in ESPN, double, triple, whatever you call it, whammy, yammy, and FU. So yeah, a great way to be set up.
Bo, I heard you.
I didn't say it. Say it.
Bo, I'll let you go. I heard you talking about it on your show. I watch all the shows, and you have valid points, and what you were saying there. And why don't you go ahead and talk about this I'm not going to say fiasco, but the situation also.
Yeah, I mean, so on Levitard's, part of it was funny because it was a very specific question, right? So either Tua was going to be, I don't want to talk about it, whatever, or he was going to bury the guy, right? Like that was the only two options that were going to happen. But if you remember, at the beginning of that, and anybody that hasn't watched it, it's on YouTube. You can see the whole video. But he starts the conversation. He starts the interview apologizing for burying Tua when he first got there. But at the same time, if you're Flores, right, he didn't want Tua to begin with. He wanted Herbert. But before that even happened, he had Fitzpatrick killing it. They were on their track to go to the playoffs, right? And then it was dictated to him to pull Fitzpatrick out and basically destroy their season, putting Tua in, and, ultimately loses his job, And so do I think that there was frustrations with Tua before anything even happened? Absolutely. And if you listen to what Flores put out, he basically didn't try and fight it. He essentially was just like, yeah, I need to be better. I need to learn from this, which makes you think that a lot of those things probably did come out of his mouth. And, right or wrong, we're all older. We grew up when coaches coached hard, right? Like they'd grab you by the face mask. You'd get the whistle on the helmet. Like, what are you doing? Right? If you look at the way coaching is today, all coaches that coach hard are not in the league. You look at Bill Belichick, gone. Vrabel, gone. The other guys that are like in your face, like you need to learn to, you're going to learn this. They're either out of the league or they went down to the college level or some of them to high school. That's why I was so surprised to see Zimmer somehow get back in the NFL. That was, and that only happened because Jerry Jones is, 8,000 years old. So, it's interesting. There's a shift in philosophy when it comes to coaching as far as what's acceptable. And then, at the same time, this was a very deliberate action by Levitard. So, I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with this, but I do applaud what Flores did because he's just like, look, I got to be better. I got to learn from this. But at the same time, he has a game on Saturday, right? So rather than letting this continue to drag on, he's just like, look, it was me. I got to learn from it. I got to be better on to Saturday.
CJ, I'm glad you're here tonight. To me, there are hard-nosed coaches that knew how to push buttons right? I mean, you had Bill Parcells. He was a hard-nosed, but he wasn't hard-nosed with everybody. Jimmy Johnson, another hard-nosed coach, but wasn't hard-nosed with everybody. They knew what buttons to push. There are some head coaches, and I think that was Flores' first head coaching job, that still have to learn things like that. And as I said, it always seems that people out in the public take the player's side right away. And it doesn't even matter what the situation is. So CJ said, well, I'm not going to talk to you about it, Mac. So I'll turn to Keith. Where did you go, CJ? All right. So CJ, what do you think? Are we babying these players too much? I'm going to give you an example. This morning, right after I saw the whole interview, they had a commercial on, well, not a commercial, but a show on the news on how to help your kids deal with the anxiety of the first day of school, right? You've got to talk to them about it. You've got to, you've got to, not make, that it's not a big deal. There's breathing exercises. I mean, God help us if we go to war and have a ground war in 15 years. God help us, because the Army will break into breathing exercises and the other half will be having table discussions on how they feel about shooting at somebody or somebody shooting at them.
I mean,
but anyway, CJ, what do you
they're going to do with drones anyway.
What do you think, CJ? I mean, is this just crazy to you? It's crazy to me.
There are so many things that I want to say right now, but the problem is I can't curse on this show. So what I'm going to do is
I never said.
I'm going to do the politically correct thing, and I'm just going to say this. Okay. I feel that today's athlete has gone soft. And the reason being is because of the fact that we are all so into our feelings, and we cannot talk to players the way that we used to 10, 20, 30 years ago. Because now the game of sport has not become a competitive contest. It has now become entertainment value. So now the athletes are no longer athletes. You are now method actors. Okay? You are a method actor playing the game of football. You are a method actor playing the game of basketball, and so on and so on, which is the reason why all of the Hall of Fames should now be renamed the Hall of Participation Trophies. And the reason being is because of the fact that now, just because of the fact that you have played the game and you made the big league squad and you had a few at bats and you had a few touchdowns or whatever, that now all of a sudden, here is your orange slices and your lollipop, and here's your gold jacket to take your place in Canton. Okay, it is a joke. This is now, we are talking about the wussification of pro sports. Okay, we are all sitting here watching it, and it's frustrating for us to watch because we grew up in a different time, in a different era, where we expect different things from athletes. And today's athlete cannot be compared with the standards of athletes 20, 30, and 40 years ago because they can't handle it. They psychologically cannot handle it. Not physically. They psychologically cannot handle it. They cannot handle the pressure. They cannot handle the responsibility that comes along with making $20 million a year or however much they're making. It's a complete and utter joke. And it's an embarrassment to the sport.
I listen. That's very well. Well, let's get a younger guy. Keith, I'm getting to you last. Let's get a younger guy's opinion in here. Listen, James. I mean, it sounded like to me that almost he should have said it. He too should have said he was bullying me. And that's the key phrase out there today, right? It seems like he was bullying me while I played for him as a player. You're a little bit younger than us, but I know you're not in your 20s or nothing like that. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, I read the article, and the first thing that came to my mind was, look at Kenny 49 said pampered. I mean, that's kind of what came to my mind. I was like, well, Brian Flores is supposed to tell you things like that. He's a football coach. He's a leader of guys that are knocking each other's heads off. What is he supposed to tell you? Sing kumbaya and hold hands and just sit around and play duck, duck, goose? I mean, what are you supposed to do? It's football, man. I mean, he's trying to motivate you, and he really didn't want him. I agree with you. He didn't want him. But that's not his guy. I mean, this is a business. So, I mean, I'm telling you, like, look, you're not the guy that I want. I mean, I don't think you're good. You're not the right person for this team. Man up and say, okay, maybe I am the man for this team. I don't agree with what you're saying to me. So I'm going to come out here, do more drills. I'm going to come out here and make sure you change. I'm going to change your mind about me. I'm not going to be wussified and go stand in the corner and wait on a lollipop like he just said. I mean, like, what are you talking about, man? You're playing football. You play for Nick Saban, For crying out loud, man. I don't want to hear that. You play for the most
All right.
dominant team.
Thank you, James.
All
I
right,
appreciate that.
So James, I'm glad you brought that up. As I go to Keith, I watched, of course, Hard Knocks with Chicago, and I thought Nick Saban. I thought the same thing. Listen, he played for one of the toughest coaches in college. But when Nick Saban makes his appearance and he starts talking to Eberflus, the head coach of the Bears, he tells him, "Listen, you got Caleb Williams. You can't put a lot of pressure on him. You got to be patient with him. You got to be there behind him. You've got to open up to him." And I'm thinking, this is Nick Saban. This is the guy that everybody was talking about. He's a tough coach and a hard coach.
Well, let me give you an anecdote
I mean,
about
I don't know
Nick
if you
Saban.
saw that or not.
I did. I laughed
Let me give
out.
you an anecdote about Nick
Well,
Saban.
let Keith go first.
All right, sorry.
It's okay. I did laugh out loud. I tend to interrupt people,
Okay.
so don't worry about it, James. You can jump in anytime. If you got something that's more, you can go. I'm okay with that.
Well, this is what one of his players said. He said, I mean, this is Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark was saying, "Why is Nick Saban going hard at me, and I'm not the one that's doing something?" But Nick pulled him to the side and said, "Because I know you can take it."
Exactly.
I'm saying out loud to you what I want some other players who can't take it because of how their mentality is. He said, "I know you can take it," and he said he understood what Nick was saying, and he said, "Okay, fine, whatever. It is what it is."
Yeah, you got to figure out how people learn, and that's part of being a good coach, right? Like you can't coach someone hard that can't take it because
Right.
you will make them worse.
Wow.
Right. That makes sense.
It's
Keith,
part of it, though.
Keith,
It is
there is no other Dolphin.
Go ahead.
It is. You're right. You're right. The great coaches do that. Keith, no other Dolphin has come out yet and said that that Flores had done that to them. Is there going to be other players coming out now, or are they all going to just leave this
Who
alone?
cares? Who cares if they do? Who cares? To just reiterate what CJ said and James said. I mean, I agree with everything they said. And to your point a bit, Mac, this is just a mirror image of society in general today. It's not just sports. It doesn't even start in sports. It starts elsewhere and seeped into sports, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. You can't yell at anybody for anything. You can't even criticize people. You criticize people, they curl up in a ball. And as you said,
So much of this.
you got to get help. You got to talk to your kids about the first day of school because it's so traumatizing. Are you kidding me? I mean, jeepers. I mean, what's next? What is next? I go on. I know I'm old, and I know my reference points.
Get off my lawn!
Exactly. My reference points are so far back, nobody can even remember them. But this used to be a tough country, and everybody's offended by everything. Everybody's offended by everything. I'm offended by nothing except people who are offended by everything. That's all I'm offended by.
Right? No, in fact, when somebody's trying to offend you, you're like, "Oh, that's cute. What else you got?"
Right. Bring it. I mean, fine. That's not. I'm not. You're not wrecking my day. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And I don't go out of my way to offend people myself. If it happens, it happens. But suck it up a little bit, as you guys have all said. God.
Right.
So,
See,
I really think that
Okay.
the situation
get
like
on to
this
this.
is that Generation X basically was the last generation to actually have their balls dropped.
That would be me, sir.
I like that,
Hey, James has his balls dropped. All
We're
right.
all happy for you, James.
Hey, good job.
Thank you.
Somebody got him an orange slice.
I like that the show is basically the curmudgeon.
So talking about balls dropping, the quarterback of flag football, I guess he's a flag football star or whatever. He's won championships. Daryl Doucette. Thank you. He says that he thinks that he's not better than Patrick Mahomes, but maybe better at flag football than he is, and that the NFL players would have to, earn their spots on the flag football team. Now, I mean, I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think
Already
Daryl
pretty fun.
Doucette is better than Bryce Young, who I think is maybe even worse than Daniel Jones. I think Bryce Young and Daniel Jones would start on that flag football team before Daryl Doucette would. I mean, what would make this guy? I mean, I know we're talking about the Olympics. I know we're talking about the Olympics coming up and NFL players wanting to go on here. But here is somebody coming out and going out of their way to make a statement out like this. What do you guys think? I mean, do you think NFL players, the wide receivers and the running backs and the quarterbacks would have to earn their way on a flag football team?
Oh, let me jump on this first real quick. Because the
Okay, well, go ahead.
we can watch this in real time. The Pro Bowl is already a flag football team. Let the Pro Bowl be them, the national team against the pros. Let's see what happens. And that Pro Bowl I might watch just for sheer entertainment value.
Yeah, you said sure. I said say it, just for and giggles. Yeah, I know.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yes.
Because that flag team would get smoked.
There's no doubt about it. Anybody think anything different? Do they think that maybe? I mean, the field is narrower, it's shorter. There's different, different rules.
I don't care about that at all. Why is flag football even in the Olympics? Is my question. So,
I mean, Ray Mason was there.
Here's the question, if I could.
Yes.
All right. I know that a lot of you guys remember the Arena Football League, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
still right here.
Basically, flag football is basically the Arena Football League without the arena. Okay. So now, if you have somebody who's like a head coach of an arena league, okay, let's I don't know, let's take Jay Gruden from the old Orlando Predators.
Orlando Predators, baby.
Okay. This is like Jay Gruden coming out and saying that NFL players suck and couldn't play the game of arena football, when basically the game of arena football is predicated on what the NFL currently is. So you're basically saying, okay, so players that have been playing this game for 30, 40, 50 years now all of a sudden suck because you're a head coach in the Arena Football League and you think that your squad is better. Okay. I definitely I love this man's idea right here. He's an absolute genius where he says we should have the flag football team play the NFL pros for the Pro Bowl. And you know what? Have that U.S. national team get absolutely destroyed on national television. I would actually tune in for that.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, just for the curiosity factor alone. Just that.
Well, switching from a full-size field to an arena-size field is not a hard transition.
Right, it really isn't.
No, like I played arena ball. Like it's an easy transition. The rules are a little different, but yeah,
Right.
like that's probably actually where our guys would get hammered is someone would run downfield and try and block because you're supposed to do that, and you can't do that in flags. Like those flags would happen. They get penalties for that, but it wouldn't be because they were worse athletes somehow.
Right.
Yeah. I've played flag
The
football.
question that everybody maybe should be asking on this, again, old man thoughts. Why would an NFL professional want to participate in this, even if it's an Olympic event, and then even have his owner buy off on that? That's a crock. If you're a guy playing for whichever NFL team and you are an all-star, all-pro, premier person, and God, it's going to gag me to say that person that was mentioned that plays for the local team, because I'm in Kansas right now, that plays for the local team here to be their quarterback. You think he really wants to play for the American pro football flag team? No. Okay. Now somebody that is maybe the quarterback of the number 31 team in the NFL would probably want to play for that. And actually, even anybody that's a starter would have to check with their ownership to see if they'd even be allowed to. And I'm sure the owners are not going to buy off on that. Okay.
Well, see, I think they might though, because the NFL is really pushing flag football. as a product.
as their own product. That's what they're pushing it for.
Yeah, but are you now think about that? They're pushing the product, but are you going? And God, I'm going to gag saying his name. Are you really thinking that Patrick Mahomes is going to risk an injury in how many years?
I mean, him and Tua both said they wanted to do it, or I mean, him and Tyreek. They've already come out publicly and said they want to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that Lamar Hunt or whoever is the troubled owner of the Dolphins anymore. I forgot. I don't know. I forgot it. The guy, whoever came after Ross, who got in trouble for owning the team. I don't know. I don't care. Whatever the owner of the Dolphins is, right? But those guys, you think Jerry Jones is going to allow any of his? How about them Cowboys? No, he ain't going to do it because he's losing money on his product for something that is just American. I don't think that most owners for players that have cachet, right, aren't going to give up their players for that. And they'll probably write anybody that's going into
There's one
will probably have it written into their contract. You can't do that because it's not allowed.
Listen, Captain. I'd agree with you. I agree to you to a point, but the NFL has a way of swaying owners. Example: Hard Knocks, when it really has some kind of money involved in it or some kind of promotions involved with it. A lot of teams don't want to do Hard Knocks, but guess what? They're going to do it anyway. So there is the NFL when it comes to promotions, which Goodell loves to market, loves to make money. Any dollar he can get, he's going to get. And the Olympic team would bring in a lot of revenue, following them through championships and playoffs all the way to Olympics. They would have a huge marketing thing, and he has a way of moving owners to do this.
Well,
and, if more money in their pockets.
Season.
Remember the rules for Hard Knocks. Nobody wants to be in Hard Knocks, and he make the rules where if you have to have certain wickets, right? If you meet a wicket, your team is not eligible. So
Correct.
you got about maybe, and I'm guessing here, maybe there's about 7 or 8 teams of the 32 that meet the wickets, right? So then it's like, oh hell, man! I hope that they don't pick us, right? But they are required. But the other teams, as long as if you've been a playoff team, you don't have to be there. If you've been on Hard Knocks for within the last 3 years, you don't have to do it. So they meet those wickets, and it was the Bears this year that got the short end of the proverbial broomstick up the wazoo, like the guy in New York, from Haiti. Yes, I don't remember his name, but the Bears were those people this year, right? So it's only because they got the long end of the stick in this respect. I just don't think that it's going to happen. That's just me.
No,
I would bet money against that.
We shall see.
Why would you let your best players leave training camp for 2 weeks to go to the Olympics?
Thank you.
We already don't get ready for the season, so let's make it even worse. The NFL would be nuts if they. Well, I'm not, but you still have to get ready to play. You're not getting ready to play by going to the Olympics and playing flag football for 2 weeks. Like again, if they do it, I wouldn't doubt if they do it because they love money. Roger Goodell, and he's only the commissioner because he puts money in the owners' pockets. That's why he's there. So they probably will go.
Well, that's why I say they're going to go. Right? It's not because it's smart. They're going to go because it's show me the money.
Yeah. And I'm not watching, so that's fine. I'm not watching anything to do with flag football. I'm sorry.
I only watched the game that the gentleman here. Sorry, wrong finger. That this guy proposed.
I'll watch
the American team against the pro team. I would watch that. Anything else, I wouldn't want to watch.
I don't know if I'd watch that. I really don't.
Well, it's better. It's better than the alternative of the flag football that goes on in the Pro Bowl. That's why I say, "Hey, you going to the Pro Bowl this year?" No. Why do I want to watch that?
Yeah.
And spend money.
No, I don't want to watch that either.
No, morbid curiosity would get me to tune in that particular time though, because I'd want to see just how bad that national team gets destroyed. right? Like I would watch for the dumpster fire, not because I thought it would be a good game. It would be because in the interest of watching the world burn, I will watch that.
Mhm.
The Pro Bowl lost its luster when it stopped playing after the Super Bowl.
Yes.
All the best players are not playing in the Pro Bowl anymore. So it really, and so you got a lot of mediocre players. I hate to say that, but there's a lot of guys that come up to the next level because a lot of the best players are either were in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl. So it's not good anymore.
You mean you didn't think?
And they don't hit.
Bowler?
And they don't hit anymore either. I mean, it would help if they hit each other a little bit. Maybe I'd watch something like that. So, Keith, Colt McCoy's retiring from the NFL. He primarily a backup. He won a few games. He was really good in college. I think he was like 28-5 with Texas. And, you know, I mean, they didn't pick him high or anything, but he was really outstanding in college. And it goes to show you, as you said before, a lot of good college quarterbacks have a problem making it to the NFL for a lot of different reasons. Colt McCoy was one of them.
I agree. He was a great college quarterback. And again, we talk about this a lot. And I talk about it in the context, a lot of people like to rip really good college quarterbacks because they don't make it at the next level. And to me, it's not related at all. I mean, just because, again, you're a great college quarterback, that does not demean your college athletic career at all if you fail in the NFL, like many, many great college quarterbacks have. Heisman Trophy winners have. And Colt McCoy is a great example. That he played with some really good Texas teams. Didn't quite make the national championship, but they were very close one year. His senior year, I believe they were very close. And he had the guy stuck around the NFL quite a while, right? So it's not like he was no good. He played some decent games in the NFL. Was never going to be a guy to lead you to the postseason or further on his own. But he was a good guy to carry the clipboard for a while and be there for protection. So
I think the only person that he missed out on the money train, he's probably number 2 to Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford made all that money doing nothing. Colt McCoy, and to your testament, Keith, I'm agreeing with you. Okay, so you can say that we agreed, right? Okay, maybe once is the fact that Colt McCoy made a decent amount of money and he stayed a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was a good quarterback. I mean, Colt McCoy was a better NFL quarterback than Gino Torretta and Chris Wenke, 2 guys that won the Heisman and went to the NFL and absolutely blew chunks.
He was better than probably 90% of the guys who won Heismans and went to the NFL. Andre Ware, Kelly Smith. Well, he didn't win a Heisman, I don't think. But still, these guys were all early first-round picks, making a lot more money probably than Colt McCoy made, and he made a career out of it. They were gone in a couple of years, these guys. So, yeah, I think he was a great college player.
Yeah, I mean, we don't mention we didn't mention Tim Tebow, probably one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time.
College player
kind of failed a little bit when he went to pros too. So, yeah, great college player. Interesting in the schedule. I mean, we start off this Saturday with college football. It's all a partial schedule. We have the full schedule the week after. Keith, we've got Florida at Georgia Tech. To me, that's probably the best game on there.
Florida State at Georgia Tech. Learn that. Florida State at Georgia Tech.
In Dublin, by the way, too. So it's not really at Georgia Tech, but it's in Dublin, Ireland. So
yes.
Florida State.
Yes.
Yep.
Is this a I'm glad. I love it when Captain is my editor. I guess everything I say he can jump in and correct me. So anyway, Keith, what are your thoughts on that game? Does Georgia Tech have a chance at all?
Given it's the first game of the year, it's played in not just in a neutral site, but halfway across the globe. I would give them a fighting chance. Georgia Tech has improved a bit over the last couple of years since they have Coach Key came in there and they fired their coach midseason a couple of years ago. Florida State's got a lot of holes to fill, not just at quarterback, where DJ I can never say his name. I'm not even going to try. Has transferred in from Oregon State to try to fill Jordan Taylor's shoes. He had a great year last year until he got hurt. Not the same thing.
They both listen. They both suck. Let's be honest. They both suck. Thank you.
Florida State's a 10.5 point favorite here, and they'll probably win the game. But I think Georgia Tech will keep it close. I like Georgia Tech a lot. To be a bit of a surprise. They're not going to win the ACC, but I think they got a chance to scare a few people this year.
All right, so great there. The thing I want to talk about more than that is that the big Delaware State versus Hawaii game that is actually on Sports Spectrum pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view.
We actually have a
pay-per-view.
pay-per-view
Interesting.
on Sports Spectrum for Delaware State versus Hawaii. Is this where it's going? Remember, I told you there is always a natural progression, guys. They did this with a small school. They're flying it up the flagpole. They're letting the balloon loose. Here. Listen, I mean, is this the beginning of pay-per-view for college football? What do you guys
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I like that the signal didn't even want to hear it. Like you were cutting out. Even the signal was like, you know what? No, we're not doing this today.
Look, there's zero doubt that all sports are going to pay-per-view at some point, right? You're going to be able to pick the game you want to watch, and you can pay for it. That's where we'll be. We've been heading there for a long time. College, we think college isn't. College has got streaming. They've got streaming stations, if you want to call it that. When you look at the league networks like the SEC network and ESPN Plus, ESPN Plus has got a ton of games on it you can stream.
It doesn't exist anymore.
What's that?
The network does. The conference doesn't, but the network does.
I wish my service would get them off my guide, because I got 15 Pac-12 channels I got to go through when I look through sports. Get this off of here.
And they're all playing the same two games.
Yeah. Well, actually, technically, there is still a Pac-12 this year. Oregon State and Washington State technically are still in the Pac-12. They will use the logo. They will use the name.
Yep.
Are they going to have a Pac-12 champion at the end of the
they
year?
will.
I don't believe they'll go that far.
Yes, yes.
There'll be a 4-win champion.
Unless there's a tie.
Oh,
Technically, they are Pac-12.
That's funny.
Keith, if they go undefeated, are they considered for the FBS, the championship if they go undefeated? One of those teams?
They'd have to consider them. I mean, I think in that regard, they'd be considered independent. The league's not getting any automatic buys, right? There's a big four now, not big five. So no, and most of their games are going to be in the Mountain West and against each other, and then a few little sisters of the poor universities.
I'm just looking forward to that, championship celebration. Like, oh, Pac-2, here we go. We flipped a coin.
There's only one game. There's only one conference game, though. That's the problem.
Well, two, right? Because
I'm wondering who's going to be paying for that pay-per-view game between Delaware and Hawaii. I imagine it's going to be Delaware and Hawaii, right? I mean, I don't think anybody else would be interested in that.
It's Delaware State, right? Because if it was Delaware, it would actually have some credence. I've never even heard of Delaware State.
They're Division II school. Division II.
Okay, well, I know Delaware. Hey, who's the greatest quarterback to ever play for Delaware?
Joe Flacco.
Okay, he did win a Super Bowl. I was going to say Rich Gannon, though. I was going to say Rich Gannon. But yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one, too.
That's still a pretty good one. Yeah.
I like that one hurt your soul, though.
I'll say this. I'm actually going to correct myself now. Even though Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl, Rich Gannon was a better quarterback than Joe Flacco in my mind. So I'll give you that.
I got a good response from Keith, man. Hell has frozen over.
I'd have to look up the stats. I think Joe Flacco has better stats than him.
I didn't say numbers. I said he was a better quarterback, and that's not always in the numbers.
No.
I agree, Keith.
That's
Mac. How much is that pay-per-view?
I didn't look that up. I wouldn't care. I'm not paying.
99 cents.
No, it's going to be like kids' parents and stuff like that. I mean, it's going to be family, right?
Yeah.
There'll be more people
Yeah,
at the
I would-
game than actually buy the pay-per-view, I think.
Oh,
Probably.
no question.
Yes,
Yeah,
I would.
no question.
I would think so too. So let's see here. Is there a problem in Pittsburgh? I think we all know there is. The quarterback situation right now doesn't look good. The GM was just out saying he's not worried about it. That it's only preseason. Listen, both quarterbacks haven't looked that good, and I don't know what's going to happen regular season. I mean, CJ, I put in Russell Wilson. He's bad for half, or he's bad for a game. I pull him and put Justin Fields in. He's bad for a half. He's bad for a game. I pull him out, put Russell Wilson back in. There's an old saying, 2 quarterbacks means you have no quarterback, CJ. What do you think they're going to do there?
Well, probably chances are they're probably going to go with Russell Wilson to start, which I think is probably going to be a horrible idea. But, because Russell Wilson is washed. I really think that they believe that Fields may be the future there. But here's the deal. I just think that right now you got 2 quarterbacks that are trying to learn a new offensive system coming from different places. So it's going to take them a little bit of time for them to kind of catch up to speed with everything that's going on. So I don't know. I still think smart money's on Russell Wilson that he starts. He may end up starting 2-3 games, and then they may end up turning it over to Fields. So who knows?
I'd like
James, do you think maybe they should have? James, do you think maybe they should have maybe put a little bit more work on the offensive line instead of worrying about getting Justin Fields?
That's where I was going to go if it was my turn. I just think, how do you give any quarterback behind that line? I mean, I saw the 1-2-3 step drop Russell Wilson had, and he had no time to throw the ball. I mean, there was no time to even get one read off. And so I just really think the offensive line, and I don't know what they were playing up against. I mean, what type of talent it was, but if that's second string and third string, that's pretty bad. That's telling of what the future is to come. And of course, the other quarterback, Fields, is running for his life and fumbling the ball. I mean, of course, he has problems with fumbling, but I don't know. I'm not sold on the offensive line first. I think you can't have any quarterback play good. I mean, or at least something to be able to indicate of whether or not it's good or not without having a really good line. Aren't the Steelers putting 3 rookies on the line this year? Either way, it just doesn't look good.
Shouldn't that mean Wilson should be good? He dealt with a bad offensive line here in Seattle for years.
He was a lot younger than Bo.
Oh, you're right. He's not the same young dude anymore. He's not.
The only thing I will say that is a little bit in Wilson's favor is they have a good defense. They have a solid running game. It is the one way that he played well. Granted, he was younger. I'll give you that. But it is something that he does well. If they do make a trade for another speed receiver, then he has a deep threat, which is the only ball he likes to throw anyway. They might as well trade away their tight end because all he'll do is block anyway. Wilson ain't going to throw to him. But, I mean, with a bad offensive line, you already know what Fields is. And they weren't sold on Fields anyway. They denied his 5th-year option, right? So, I mean, they're kind of okay with both these guys being gone. So I don't know if they really believe either one of these guys are going to work. I think they just believe that they're going to be better than Pickett.
Well, actually, talking about the line, running behind an offensive line to run away, that's what Fields did in Chicago because his O-line wasn't really good either, but at least he could run. But like you said, his problem is he's like, don't even get to that second read. Oh, the guy's not open. I'm going to run. That was his problem because the line sucked. He would get to the 1.5 read and then decide to run. So I think that's one of the reasons why they might have picked him up because they knew what he could do in that respect in Chicago. And they said, well, maybe Russell can teach him. Russell ain't going to teach him anything. Russell checked out when he left the Seahawks. he checked out. He
He
put
was
money.
checked out before he left the Hawks.
Well, true. I apologize. You are correct, sir.
Well, let me give you the stat that they were talking about. Through 2 games, both starting offenses, and that means when Fields played with the starting offensive line and Wilson played with the starting offensive line, 0 points. I mean, I know it's only preseason.
So that's not a surprise, though. I mean, if you look at Russell Wilson last year, right? I don't even count Fields from last year because the Bears organization, top to bottom, is such a dumpster fire that I can't even fault Fields. Like, there's so much wrong with that team. I mean, their defense was so bad, even the stadium got broke into. So, like, I won't give any credence to the Bears. But when you look at Russell Wilson last year, all of his good stats that they talk about were on defensive turnovers, right? You didn't see any sustained drives. Did he have good touchdown to interception rate? Sure. But if you look at the yardage, he didn't have good yardage. When they scored, it's because they were on the positive side of the field. If they had to create a drive, they were off the field. They couldn't do it. So his numbers may have looked good topically, but if you actually watched football last year, he didn't play well.
Yeah, it's all good points. I want to turn to baseball for the end of the show here. Of course, we have some big free agents coming up this year and adding value. Juan Soto is having a very good year for the Yankees. He's going to be probably somewhere in the vicinity of a Shohei Ohtani contract coming up. And it's going to be for a lot of years. And we know there's a lot of teams that make a lot of mistakes putting people on long-term contracts for a lot of money. First of all, what do you think about Juan Soto? And there's a couple pitchers. I think I'm trying to remember the couple that are coming up. Nola is coming up as one of them. I know that for sure. What do you guys think? I mean,
Nola
Nola's
got signed last year by the Phillies.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember that there's two pitchers, Keith, coming up. I thought it was Nola or something like Nolan. I'm trying to remember the two that were coming up.
Corbin Burns. Well, Corbin Burns, I know is coming out. He's probably one of the
Jake Snell, Jack Flattery are the two I'm talking about. They're coming up on free agent contracts this year. So what do you guys think about? I mean, another Shohei Ohtani contract. You talk maybe 12 years at $40 million a year. I mean, I think this is crazy. Even the great Mike Trout still has 6 years left on his contract. They're paying him $36 million a year. I mean, what do you guys think about? First of all,
70 million, Mac. 70 million.
Yeah,
is what.
Exactly. And of course he's a DH right now. So what do you guys think?
I don't think he's getting Ohtani money. He's not going to sign with the Yankees and make more than Judge. I can tell you that right now. That won't happen. So if he's coming back here, it may be for a lot of years, but it won't be for more than $60 million a year. He's got a better chance of signing with the Mets for more money, maybe.
Yeah, that means that the Mets would be paying Soto and Bobby Bonilla
until 2033, right?
Exactly. It's funny though, because you could see, because of the way the Dodgers did Ohtani's, where it's super backloaded, they could actually go swing at this and front load it.
They could. Dodgers will be a player here for sure. I guarantee you. The Dodgers won't care.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the other one that'll do it because they like to randomly spend money, even though it doesn't actually help, is the Rangers. You could watch the Rangers go and throw money at him just because.
That's a good point.
They got their World Series and they set themselves back probably 5 years by getting it, but they got their rings. They got their rings.
You can't take the ring away.
They did get the ring. No, you can't.
And it's a selling factor. Look, it's only been a couple of years since we won a ring. You should come here. We'll give you a ton of money, even though we will not be competitive at all. We will be the Angels.
Yeah, basically right. So yeah, I think the long-term contracts. Of course, you have opt-outs built into it. I mean, it gets crazy. By the time the guy's 32 or 34, he turns into Stanton. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. I think anyway.
I was just gonna. I was actually going to ask that. I said, are they're still playing Giancarlo? I remember when he was Mike, but he had to be awesome and go by his his natural name. But they paid Stanton a boatload of money. Obviously, they're playing Judge. Judge actually works for the money. Soto would work for the money. If anybody that would have the capabilities to say we're going to spend a lot of money and we don't care about the the luxury tax, would be the Yankees. But my question is, when does Stanton's contract drop? Because if they can drop out of that contract, then they just move that money. I don't know what the Stanton contract status is.
He's got at least 3 years left on that contract. And it's only in the 20s. It's not even close to the money that Stan's going to make. It's 27 million a year.
What a bargain.
All right.
I mean, this Yankees team isn't the Yankees team that you think of that bought rings in the 90s. Like it's a more frugal Yankees team than it once was.
Very flawed Yankee team as well.
Oh, I agree with that.
No question.
I agree with.
Not to say that they don't have a huge payroll,
No
but
doubt
it's
about
not what it used to be.
One last thing. No doubt. And the Dodgers are spending over $1 billion. Anyway, guys, one last thing. I think it's kind of amusing. The Cheetah decides to challenge the gold medalist in a race, and he's serious. All right.
Sure.
So Tyreek Hill is challenging the U.S. gold medalist Noah Lyles. I think it's to a 40-yard dash, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the last thing they discussed. He doesn't want to challenge to a 100-yard dash because we know what happened. I don't think there's a win-win. There's a win situation here at all for Noah Lyles. If he wins, he's supposed to win. If he barely wins, well, he almost got beat. And if he loses, now that's what they talk about. They don't talk about his Olympics. They talk about him losing to Tyreek Hill. You guys think anything different or any thoughts?
If for a lot of money, he might do it, but you're right. Otherwise, it's a lose-lose for him. I think he'd win. I think he'd win easy, by the way, because Hill's fast, but he doesn't know how to get off to out of the blocks like a sprinter does. So I think he'd get smoked myself.
I look at it. I look at that situation exactly like Alabama playing Temple. If they beat them by 70, you're supposed to. If it's close, you're like, what happened? If they lose, you're just like, oh, the season's over.
Right.
Pack it in. Everybody's getting fired.
No doubt. CJ, James Farrell says no one cares. That is not true. If they set this up, there would be unbelievable amount of views to watch this crazy race. Am I wrong?
No, you're
Yeah.
right.
There would be a lot of people who would want to watch it, but I think that the people who probably would not give a damn one way or another would probably outweigh the handful of people that would actually say, you know what? I'll pay $69.99 to watch this.
I think you would be right 99% of the time. The only reason I think it's a little different this one is because Noah Lyles has talked so much that people don't like him and want him to lose.
Oh.
Like he said enough dumb stuff in the press that now people are just like, you know what? I hope this guy gets burned. Like I was listening to people that were hoping he was going to lose in the Olympics because he was talking so much. They're just like, you know what? Go USA, accept Lyles. I hope he trips. And you're just like, dang, that is rough.
Yeah, he's talking a little too much to others about other sports, and it's just not necessary. Just go ahead and do your thing, run your race, be classy, and go on about your business. I'm not really a fan. I don't think I've seen some much better races. I mean, don't get me wrong. He won by 1.5?
Yeah, it was like
second
0.025.
Yeah.
It was okay. I mean, not to be talking all that crap he's been talking. Yeah, it was all right.
So, guys, we're coming to the top of the show. Keith Engel is up next on Roku with College Huddle. I know Bo has to jump. Of course, I think he forgot he had to jump because he gets excited about being
it's
on
right
the show.
now, actually.
All right. And so we're going to let you All right, we'll let you all go. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you on Roku all the time. YouTube, Northeast Streaming Sports, but check out the Roku channel, Natural Streaming Sports. That's where you see over 70 shows, weekly shows. Check them out. Just all you got to do is channel search National Streaming Sports. You guys have a great night. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.